Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be joining. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. This is the F Word Follow-Up Trends with me, your host, Sara Delansig, and my co-host, Heather Murcin. And I said her
Uh,
name correctly this time.
You did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
You
Nailed
did
it.
it very quickly.
All right. So today our topic is I don't know about you, Heather, but I've noticed it's been getting busier already. And I know it's not spring yet, but it is very close to spring and it's already getting busier. And I think that it's helpful for agents to kind of prepare for spring. And so the topic today is spring surge, how to turn cold leads into closings. So we are going to chat about that. And something I think that is an issue is that most agents, they end up chasing new leads, but
Yes.
like during spring, they'll chase new leads and they think that that's the fastest way to make money. But it's really in reactivating the people who have already raised their hand. And so this is the key time for your follow up to be effective. So we're going to talk about the ways that we may do it differently. I don't know. I'm assuming you do some things differently in spring.
I do. I actually, this is about the time when I start digging for all of, so for me, and I don't know if you do this, so a lot of my agents, and I'm sure you have seen this, you have a little bit of a different, you have like a background system that you use, but I work right directly in their CRMs, and a lot of agents have new shiny syndrome. So they'll go
Yes.
from Follow Up Boss to Lofty to KB Core, and it's in like there's been agents I've worked all of them. And
Yeah.
so for me, I have what's called a nurture log, and it's like this shared Google sheet that anyone who says I'll be ready in X amount goes on this nurture log. So, and I have
Oh,
like
wow.
name, date, address, plus the date that I'm going to follow up with them. So my day starts every day for every agent looking at that nurture log. I'm looking for
Oh,
today's date. I'm looking for, and I have the notes on whatever they said. So for me, that's the first place I look because all of the gold that I find, especially right now, is in those past leads.
that's right.
And
That's
like
right. See, go ahead.
I say, I remind the agents all the time. I'm like, remember when you got so mad that so and so wasn't going to be ready for a year? Well, it's been a year. She's ready to talk, and blah blah blah. So it's like I try to remind them that most of the good stuff is in those past leads.
Yep. And that's very true. So I love that you brought up shiny object syndrome because that is one of the things that agents get distracted by and they hear things from other agents that are working. And I always tell you, don't go signing up for a new thing until you've seen it work for that agent for a longer period of time than a month.
Longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of times they are getting paid to, tell you about it because they have some kind of incentive to share it and then they're getting a discount. And so they're going to share it and they're going to say it's awesome for the first month, but you don't really know that it works unless it's been 6 months and you're actually seeing some kind of return. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not trying to be a hater or anything like that, but please be careful. Don't listen to everyone. And
Well, but
don't get
also what works for them in their area might not work for you in your area. I've worked dual systems where I'm doing the exact same thing for two different people and I'm killing it for one, and then the other one I
yeah,
can't even see on the phone. So it
so
doesn't
true.
always work.
I
Yeah.
know. I have a client right now that keeps asking me. He's like, "Oh, does this work for this, this, and this?" And I'm like, "Listen, it is different in every market." Like he keeps wanting like facts and numbers and stuff, and I'm like, "The facts are that I've gotten you 16 appointments in 3 weeks, so that's pretty dang good for under
Yeah.
350 leads." So yeah, those are the facts. Let's focus on your stuff, not everyone else's. But yeah,
Exactly.
I have this sun coming right in my eyes because
Kind of
it
makes
is
you look angelic for the record. I don't know if you can see your little reflection, but you kind of look like an angel.
That's funny.
The angel of
Oh,
the F word.
that's so good. Okay, no, I have to fix it. Hold on. It's really bugging me.
Well, while you're fixing it, I guess my question is, what do you consider a cold lead?
Oh, a cold lead is anybody that's 6 months, 6+ months out. Um, for me. And it really depends too, because like I had called somebody the other day and they said that they weren't going to be ready till spring. They told me this in December, in mid-December.
Okay.
And so I called them yesterday because I cut that time in half. And I actually called them a little bit earlier than I would have too. And she's like, "Oh, we already have a realtor." And I'm like, "Ah." Yeah. I was like, "Dang, girl." I was like, "Here, I still cut the time in half, and you still ended up being somebody that, found a different agent, and I gave her her space for 2 months, and then look what happened." But
Damn, that's so frustrating.
yeah,
Did
I
you
know.
ask her
So
where she found them? See, I'm one of those people. I'm like, where'd you find them? When'd you find them? Are you lying? Who is she?
I don't care because see, that's the difference between me and you. Because I'm like, okay, if you tell me you have an agent, like I'm all right, congrats. Sounds like you're in good hands. Have a great day. Like that's
That's
what
me
I
too.
say. Yeah, I'm like, okay, good. I was curious though. I was like, really? It's not the one, it's not my client. You're not working with Kim? Like, what's going on? Why? Why not? But yeah, that's I don't really get into the nitty-gritty of that. Okay, so I want to talk about the psychology of spring and why it's different. There is a shift, there's like tax refunds coming in, so people have some money. That's actually how I started my business almost exactly 4 years ago. Was because I had a tax refund and I used all of it to start the business.
Oh, girl, I was literally just telling somebody yesterday how much I miss like liking tax time because now as a business owner, I hate it. I dread it. I wait till like April 15th almost every year
Oh, I do too.
because
I do too. Like yeah, I used an extension like the first year I did. I was so like, but
same, yep,
but I
same.
figured it out and now I don't need an extension. But it is a
No,
lot.
but
I have to
I,
mentally prepare for
yep,
all of it.
100%. But also it's like with the people in the spring, it's like they find this like newfound hope. Like they're done. They've been cooped up in their house all winter. They're like, I hate this place. I gotta get out. And then the tax refund on top of it, like, okay, bet, let's do the work that we need to do and get the F out of here.
Yep, yep. They have like new hope and like the school year might be coming to a close soon, so they start thinking about that and like how that I know for me when I was moving, school was always a huge deal and like taking my son out of school, like you didn't want to move until after he was already,
Yeah, don't want to do that to
done with
them.
school. Yeah, you don't want to do that to him. You don't want him to
See,
be the new kid.
and like for me, those are what I call hard timelines. So those are like
Yes.
those are non-negotiables, right? Like as a
Yes.
mom, as a parent, as a person, you can understand all of those reasons. And for those, I actually give them more a little bit of leeway. So the reason I asked you what you think a cold lead is because for me, I consider it wrong timing plus low trust, right? That's somebody
Yeah.
who's cold. So my goal is to find out what their time is and then build trust in between them. So I do a lot of like check-ins with them, just not even real estate related, just like, hey girl, I know last time we talked you said you had blah 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 going on. Did you get that resolved? Or I know you said you wanted to fix the plumbing in the bathroom. I just came
Yep.
across an amazing plumber. Did you want his information? Like I'm looking for reasons to call them.
Yeah.
Um, and I enjoy the conversations that aren't always real estate related. So I do listen
Yeah.
to it.
Of
But
course.
yeah, I thought I'd add that.
Yeah, no, that's see, so this is why we have this podcast, okay? Because we're not doing things the same way, and that's okay because it works for both of
It
us
works.
and it might work for someone else. And
Yep.
I'm not, over here judging you for doing it your way, and I don't feel judged by you doing it my way.
No,
And I think
I
that's what the beauty of this is like so we can chat it out. Because like, yes, I am the person, the way that my system is set up is that my clients are paying more per phone number, so I don't have I have to like maximize time and each
yeah,
call is more of the way that it works with my system. So having a bunch of like people that are like, I'm not moving for 3 years, they're not going to be on my call list. They're too far out. And that's not something that I can really help manage in that time. Unless my client does not have anywhere near their cap of leads, I'm not going to keep anybody that's like over a year out. And even
100%.
then, it's still like I'm like 6 months is pretty much my cap. But if they have a hard timeline, that's also something that I hold to as well, like you were
Yep.
talking.
Do you put them on a drip at that point? Like, is that all? Because that's what I would do. I would put them on automations and let the automations kind of do their job, and then do like a once a year check in or like a 6 month, maybe a biannually check in on those. But the
Yes,
automation,
exactly. So like most of my clients, they have all their automations set up and doing their thing anyway. And so I have them they do that, and I'll pay attention to it, and they'll let me know if there is something. And some of them, okay, so I do call out of some of their CRM, but I was like you, when I started my business, they were changing CRMs, like they changed their outfits or changed brokerages, and I was like, I'm not, and not every CRM has a great dialer, has a great text messaging system, and my whole thing is predicated on video at the time, and like using YouTube videos and sending video text and that sort of thing. So there was only one CRM that was capable of doing that, and it's the one that I use, and
Yep.
that works for me. And that's why it's like we're
I
so
do.
different. It's
Yep.
fine. I'm an acquired taste over here. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so the weather is better in spring. Listings start popping up. There's lease renewals because a lot of people are moving during that time. So this is really um, behavioral timing. Like it's a really good time to check in. And then like you were talking about, I would put them in four different buckets. Okay, like old leads. you know these are like people that you haven't talked to or haven't heard from in 6 to 18 months, right? They're really cold, right? With these people, I'll send like a text message after a call, and I'll just be like, hey, I know you had connected with such and such last year and you were thinking about maybe making a move. Is that still part of your plan this year? I actually use the whole, spring is in the air and it's a great time to make a move. And I'll like use something like that to kind of bring that up. And then just ask like, where are your priorities? So that's kind of what I do with like that old feed bucket. What do you do with that?
Pretty much, yeah, kind of the same thing where you're just using text messages to check in, and then I use those as hand raisers because anybody that responds, they're now on my follow-up call list. If they
Yep.
don't respond, I just keep texting or automating until they do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it depends on how they respond, because if they're like, stop,
True
that's a
that
totally
part.
different thing. I was like, that's a different thing. Then I'm not going to put them on my follow up if they're saying stop.
That's fair.
That's me though. Okay, so bucket number two, I'm gonna say these are like old listing appointments for clients, like people that had a listing appointment that didn't convert. Maybe they needed a lot of work done to their home or something like that. These people are. It's kind of similar. Spring is in the air. Did you know it's a great time to sell? I know you were thinking about selling this time last year. Has anything changed? Would you like an updated CMA? That sort of thing. And that's kind of how I attack those. How about you?
So those are the ones that I keep on a consistent basis. Like if they met with my client, I'm talking to them at least once a month, and those are the ones I'm finding excuses to talk to. And
Yeah,
most of the time throughout that year, like if they're like, oh, we'll try again next year, for example. Like I had this one girl, they moved in their house. They were planning on living there for only 2 years, but then her husband didn't do the work that he was supposed to do in the 2 years. So
yeah,
they didn't have enough equity and to sell on the 2 year mark. So her and I actually got pretty close. We become Facebook friends because I kept calling her and talking to her about the work and how where they're at and blah blah blah. And it became like a vent session every time she talked to me. And then she started doing it on her own. I literally was like, girl, you don't have to wait for him. Everything is figure outable. Go do it. So like those are the kind of connections that I try to make with the ones that have met because I feel like once they've met the agent, there's like an 80% chance that they're going to sign with them, right? Like that those probabilities are pretty high. So if I
yeah,
can just keep them engaged and make them feel like they matter, I feel like that makes a big difference. I don't know if you found that like one of the biggest complaints I got when I first started this was like, yeah, I didn't work with X agent because he didn't, he had nothing to do with me when it wasn't time to sell. And like a lot of people feel like agents only contact them because it's money related. So if they
yeah.
feel the full package, I feel like that makes a huge difference.
That's amazing. And you brought something up that's interesting. So I don't always recommend that agents save contacts on their cell phones. Like you should have your contacts obviously in your CRM. But this is something that I've found because I have a client who I have to save Zillow calls on my cell
Yeah.
phone, and I have to actually save them as contacts. So they started popping up, and in then they would request my friendship on Facebook and stuff now, because there's like, if we're saving each other's contacts, now they're showing up, and that's a better
You may
way to
know.
like really get them involved. And so I do highly recommend that, especially if you have an iPhone and that sort of thing, then if you sign in and they're saved in there, then it will recommend them because it will see and their phone numbers associated with it in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. So I love that. It's like a
Yep.
suggestion and it just really helps you build the rapport. I am definitely different from how you do it because I feel like my clients need to build the rapport once they've had that meeting with them. And so they need to build on that. When they send it back to the ISA, I feel like it's like putting it back in
Crazy.
their funnel. And I just I don't know. I feel like that's just the way I've done it. Although there are some that I will re-engage for the client if I know that the client has done their due diligence. So yeah, I'm kind of picky about who I work with because I want people that are really engaged with their,
Like
their
yeah, you
consulting.
work with like crazy high caliber people, and I feel like I get a lot of the
The
newbies, so like
solo agent.
couple
Yeah.
years in, yeah. And like for me, I feel like when I talk to a lead, I tell them like my job is to be one of the backup singers. Like my job is to be here before your transaction, get you up to that point, find out everything you need in the beginning, and then their job is to analyze the numbers, to negotiate your contract. And they have so many, clients that we need a team to do this. This is not a one
Yes.
man job or a one man show. And I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of leads really appreciate that because they don't understand how real estate works, right? So a lot
Mm,
of leads, and it's very like when you say CMA, we know what you mean. Like, but if you say a
yeah.
CMA to someone who's only sold a house in 1995, they're like, what is that, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of leads don't really understand everything that goes with them. And again, this comes back to a lead being cold because they
Yeah.
get overwhelmed. They are like, we'll try again next year, or they, whatever, and they want to sell, but they just need that little nudge. And I feel like that's what we're good at. But the other side of it's like, I forgot where I was going with this, but I wanted to get to a point where it's like our job is to kind of let them know what they don't know. And those are
Yeah.
really good for those older leads, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's really key too, is like letting them know that sometimes your client is super busy. And so they're not always going to be able to connect with them. They can reach out to you and that sort of thing. That's always helpful.
Yeah.
So bucket number three would be the ghosted conversations. These are people that have just completely, actually, I had one call me yesterday.
You
She
did
called
not.
me. She called me. And I had been calling her for months. And actually, the last time I called her was exactly a month ago. And I didn't call her yet, but she called me. She did not leave a voicemail. And then I, call her back and all that sort of thing, but we didn't connect. But this was an old listing. She had ghosted, right? And then she called and I was like, oh, interesting. So I let my client know too. And so we are kind of both trying to figure out what was going on there. But either way, like with the people that aren't calling you back, um, I'm just like, hey, I just want to circle back. I get that timing matters. Has anything changed on your end? Like, first of all, Chat GPT is brilliant in coming up with certain things. Not always, like I did have to adjust a couple of things because I'm like, that sounds cheap. But if
Yep.
you tell it what you don't like and what you do like, then it can come up with some pretty good stuff that is like helpful for it. And me, I have a very time like I have it all laid out like first text, second text, third text, fourth text for each ad. Like so if they're
Yep.
running a street text ad for a specific house, then this is the first text, this is the second text, and so on and so forth. And so once you get to text number 8, like then I have to start put things in. So I
Then we have
put
to. Yep.
yeah, and then I'm like, okay. I told ChatGPT, I'm like, okay, here are the first 8 texts that I have sent to this person, and I'll just like lay them all out. I'm like, I don't want to repeat any of these, but now what should I say? And so then it gives
Yep.
me some more ideas. And a lot of it, you are repeating yourself, though. You're just finding other ways to phrase it. But what do you do with that?
I was gonna say there's only so many ways you can be like, bro, do you want my help or not?
Exactly. Exactly. That's how I
But
feel about it too.
I think what's worse, we were just talking about this earlier this week, is like when agents don't get back to you and they
Mm,
ghost you. And I'm like, you know how this feels. Why are
uh-huh.
you doing that?
Girl,
Like,
I was thinking about that on the way. I was driving to work today and I was thinking, I think agents really need to put themselves in the shoes of a buyer or seller without having any real estate knowledge. Like they need to really think about what it looks like from that end. You need to like set yourself up as a contact, put yourself in the drip campaigns, put yourself in that
100%.
whole thing and like see what that looks like. Because a lot of times it doesn't look the way you think it looks. And sometimes you'll get a text message and think that it's sending one way, and then you get it and it's not looking anything like what you thought it looked like too.
It's so funny that you say that because I put my husband in all of them. And I asked him because he doesn't know anything about real estate. So
That's
I asked him
funny.
like, how does this look? How would you react to this? You know, if somebody messaged you this, and sometimes again we're contemplating selling this spring, so you know it's a great time. And he gets confused. He's like, hey, do you know agent so and so? They just reached out to me. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that must have felt organic. Like, okay, I get it. I don't even tell them they're coming. I'm like, hey, did you get a text today? He's like, yeah, did you?
that's funny. Oh my gosh, isn't he like, why do I get all this real estate stuff?
He's
I'd be
starting to
so
catch on.
annoyed.
I'm like, that's so weird. Why is an agent Arizona reaching out to you?
That's funny because a lot of my clients and past clients put me in as like a lead too. And then
Yeah,
I would get them and I'm like unsubscribe.
unsubscribe.
I'm not even in your area. Like I'm like, I get what you're doing and I appreciate it. And I know what it looks like, so we're good. But like I don't need you to try to tell me. Just I'll
Yep.
reach out to whoever. I'm also an agent myself, so I could do it if I
Like
wanted
if I'm
to.
gonna do that, I'm doing
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so bucket number four, which you kind of we already touched on at the beginning. You said these are your nurture people, right? So these are the people that you are calling, pretty frequently. Um, and you just want to kind of figure out where they're at, what's going on, what's the situation. And so you already said like you have those at the top of your list, you're looking at them every day. I have a list as well. I have it, color coded and all that sort of thing. And so I know exactly, and I have them listed hot to cold and I have dates on them. Like I have the whole thing so that I know who to focus on. If there ever is a lull in calls or something, then I know who to go back to, and who to, try to re-engage. And so that's kind of how I do it. I'm sure you just,
I feel like for nurtures though, I feel like I'm always encouraging them to say no. I feel like that's a big difference with us. Is
oh,
that yeah, it's like so I'm like, I mean, do you have to sell? Is it an option just to stay here? And then
oh,
they'll
right.
sell
And then they
me.
feel comfortable because you're like, you're pulling the whole double
Mhm.
blind or whatever you're doing.
Reverse selling. Yep,
Yeah, reverse
they a
selling.
lot of and it's like, especially for those ones that are 3, 6 months out, I'm like, girl, that sounds like a lot of work. And your house is gorgeous. Can't you just stay here? And they're like, well, no, because my best friend lives in blah, 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 or, the weather's better, or, we've got to move closer to mom. Like now I know their actual motivation. So
Yeah.
if you're out there listening to this, I highly recommend trying it because people will tell you the truth when they think that you're trying to get them to stay.
How many people do say, yeah, I could just stay here? How often does that
Nope,
happen? No?
almost never. Almost
No. Because
never.
I
I
remember I
swear.
used that on a guy. I think he was similar though too. I do remember he's like, I have a huge house, and he was selling me his house, and I was like, it sounds
Right.
like you have an amazing house, and you don't really need to go anywhere. And then he was like, he did the same
I
thing.
actually
He's
don't.
like, well, I want a place with a pool and my or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't remember what it was, but
Yeah.
I did get the listing appointment on that one, so I do know what you're talking about. That's funny. I like that. Okay, so we
Mhm.
have a few more minutes here. If anyone is in here and has questions, feel free to let us know. In the meantime, I'm gonna see what else I have here. If your database isn't producing in spring, it's not because you need more leads, it's because you need more conversations. That's a little quote I have here. Um, which I think is true. And the way that you have those conversations is probably the most crucial part of everything for me. Everything has to come from a very authentic place. It has to come from a place that is um, not no pressure, It's got to be low pressure, high value, caring more about the person and what they, really need. I'm never trying to sell someone just because my client needs a closing or something like that. That's never going to be. So I always come from, like that place of like curiosity. What's your situation? What do you need? Authenticity. How can we help? Build trust, build rapport, and go from there. And if it's not a fit, I'm like, all right, cool, peace. No big deal,
Yep.
you know? And if it is a fit, then we figure out ways to move forward.
Well, and I feel like a lot of it is just talking about timeline, not commitment, right? Like trying to talk to them about what their timeline looks like, respecting that timeline, and then kind of discussing, what would need to happen for this to happen, or what would this need to look like. And I feel like a lot of that has to come from a very authentic, organic place, or it doesn't work. 100%
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things is like people have a fear of bothering people. That is a serious issue. You cannot feel like that's the case. You have to feel like the opposite. You have to actually think to yourself, I'm they'll actually be upset if I don't reach out because
Yep.
there are those people that aren't happy when don't reach out. I had a guy yesterday. He answered the phone all grumpy. Um, and and then as soon as he found out who I was, all of a sudden he's like, "Oh my gosh, I actually really want to talk to you." And he just perked up and he's like, "I got, a VA loan for 850K and I really love this house and it would have to all the stars would have to align." And like all of a sudden this guy just like lit up.
Came to life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he was
I
like,
love
"Oh, I was in." I'll tell you what, though, the man said, "I'm not ready to be contacted through Zillow," but I called him anyway. Like he had filled something out, but apparently he was ready to be contacted and just the way that I approach it. But I also, like I've told people every day, before I make my calls, I sit and I think to myself, like,
that.
okay, I attract aligned buyers and sellers who are ready, willing, able to transact. They answer the
Yep.
phone when I call, they're excited to talk to me. And that was a perfect example of me calling that guy in and now working with my client. So there you have it.
Yeah. And when you're sitting down, especially with these older leads, that mindset is so important. That is, I think, the number one thing that you've taught me. Because I would have like bad day after bad day, and I'd just be like, oh, why is no
Yeah.
one answering? And then when you and I talked about it, I'm like, well, because I'm attracting that. I'm like literally vibrating on that level. Like we have to level up here, and it makes a huge difference. And I feel like you listen differently when you're expecting and wanting to hear what you are kind of trying to attract. Like you vibrate at a different level and you give off different energy, and they're more open to that. They're more receptive. I 100% agree with that.
Absolutely. And that is a good place to leave this off on is that don't ever feel like you're bothering people.
Never.
Understand that especially a lot of this is all one-to-one consent. At least everything I call. I don't do any of the cold calling stuff or anything like that. So people have given their consent and I'm just following up because they clicked the button and said
Yes.
go ahead and gave me their phone
Yeah.
number. I'm not sitting there trying to track down their phone number if they didn't give it or anything like that. Like everything
That's
that
me.
I'm doing is like that. So that's how I am. So one thing I want to leave is like the whatever results that you have, it really does start from mindset. So use the energy of spring, which is like growth and joy and happiness and vibrancy and sunshine and rainbows and kittens and puppy dogs. Use that to infuse your real estate business, right? And help you to have a better attitude about it. Use that to let people know that this is a great time. Don't ever think like if you have the same attitude as other people that you're like, oh, this market sucks, da, 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 then you're going to be putting that out in the universe. So don't do that. Try to find the good, the positive, the happy, the joy, and then like start from that place and see where you can build it. Um, and I will say, like, if your
And
database isn't producing this spring, it's not because you need more leads. It's just because you need more conversations. So start there and do some audit of your database and start following up with people, like we said.
I would say the leads that are in your database, they want to talk to you. Remind yourself of that.
Exactly.
Don't be
Yes.
scared to make the calls. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't come up with reasons why you don't need to. Just make the calls and have the conversation. And put yourself, like you said, I mean, you put it perfectly. Put yourself in a situation where the buyers and sellers don't know anything about real
Yeah.
estate. They
Yep.
want to talk to you. They don't know it,
Yes.
but they want to talk to you.
Exactly. That's right. And that is all we have for today. So I'm super glad you guys came and hung out with us. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Don't know the topic yet. I usually pick it the night before. So just keep an eye out. We'll see. But we always have a good time. So thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye, guys.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.